This podcast is for all those people out there who realize that in a world that is going faster and faster, you need to slow down and pause. But it's so hard to slow down and pause. And so that's why I wanted to make this podcast for you who find it so difficult to do that while you know how important it is. So in this podcast, we'll talk about why it is so important and then what you can do to really manage to pause and to slow down. I'm Muriel, CEO, mom, and educator. I used to work really hard and sacrificed important things to me until I lost my motivation. Fast forward past many failed attempts and lessons learned, and I found a way to reach great results while working less. Today, I'm obsessed with helping other leaders build meaningful lives. So each week, I'll be sharing inspiration to change your life and organization. This is Rebel Leader with a Heart. I wanted to start with the story of Marie. And Marie, she has always been successful. She was a great student in school and at university, and then she started her career in a big multinational where she learned a lot and slowly climbed the ladder. So she could deliver, people were happy about everything she was doing, and she was a little bit perfectionist. She really liked to go the extra mile when people expected something from her. But then things started to speed up. She had more and more emails, more and more requests, more and more meetings. And so she started working more and more, still trying to deliver that extra mile. She then started to work harder, longer hours, not going home early, and not sleeping enough anymore. She fell into this trap where she noticed that she couldn't stop anymore. Her brain was in overdrive, constantly thinking and looking for things, and she couldn't concentrate anymore. She was working on one thing and then got an email from something else and then went to a meeting through social media for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours sometimes because she got absorbed by it. And then at a certain point, her friends came over and told her, "You can't continue like this," because she wasn't functioning anymore. And so her friends convinced her that she had to take some time off. She felt really guilty about that because she wanted to deliver. She was already late for a lot of things. People were not happy about the results anymore she was delivering. And now she was going to stop working for a couple of weeks. She thought, no, I can't do this. But her friends and family told her, you have to stop. And so she stopped. And she stopped, and that's when everything hit her. That's when the stress that she had accumulated in her body all came out, and that's when she couldn't start anymore. And so what she thought that would be a couple of weeks turned out to become 1 year and a half. She was in burnout, and her brain wasn't functioning properly anymore. So she had to find her energy back, but she also had to heal because a burnout is really something that is not working properly anymore in your prefrontal cortex. And all that because she couldn't slow down and pause. So this is really important for your health, for yourself, for your family. So do you know other people like that who kept going and kept delivering and couldn't stop anymore and went in overdrive till the point of burning out? And just look at yourself for a minute. How hard is it for you to pause? Can you still concentrate? Are you delivering what you want at the level that you want? But also, when we look then at people that are really successful, like Bill Gates, like Jeff Weiner, the CEO of LinkedIn, or Warren Buffett, what they all have in common is that they have incorporating pausing in their life. They pause a lot. Bill Gates was known to pause for at least 1 week, once a year, only to think about his business. Jeff Weiner has incorporated pausing in his agenda. And then look at Warren Buffett's agenda. He only have a couple of things in it because he takes a lot of time to manage his energy, to pause and to think strategically. So why should you pause in a world that is going faster and faster? It's because you need to manage your mindset before your actions. And if you're constantly running and putting things in place and you don't get the result that you want, so you put other things in place, sometimes you get in this loop where whatever action you take, you don't get the result that you want. And that's probably because it's time for you to pause and to manage your mindset. And with that new mindset, you will suddenly see actions that were not visible to you before. But you also have to pause because you need to know what you want. And a lot of people are really busy because they don't know exactly what they want. They don't know what they want from their career, from their life, from the next meeting they're about to step into, or from the task that they are working on. And when you don't know what you want, you don't know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And so probably you will just accept every request, you will get overwhelmed or really, really busy. You also have to pause so that you can analyze root causes. Today, I see a lot of leaders, they are in firefighting mode because things are moving so rapidly and they have so many things to do that they don't stop to think and to organize and to analyze things anymore. And that's when you get in this firefighting loop of always working on symptoms instead of root causes. So you have to learn to pause, to step back, and to analyze things before taking action again, because that's when you will solve root causes, transform, and get less and less problems that arise. Then also, you have to pause because you need to adapt. You need to adapt to this changing world, because if you don't adapt, well, as an organization, you won't survive, but as a leader, you won't stay relevant. People won't want to hire you anymore if you don't adapt. But how do you adapt? You adapt by learning new skills. And so for that, again, you have to pause and learn these new skills. And with these new skills, you will probably be able to better solve the problems and the challenges, but also seize the opportunities that you are facing. Then you also have to learn to pause to manage your energy. Because let's face it, you probably have never faced as many challenges as you are today. And what happens when you are stressed and when you are tired and exhausted? Well, you stay in your comfort zone and you will resist the change. And that will probably lead to blaming others or circumstances for everything that you're going through, minimizing or ignoring opportunities and threats. Just look at yourself. When are you able to tackle big challenges? When you are exhausted and stressed, or when you are full of energy? And that's also another reason why you need to pause. You need to pause to manage your energy. And by managing your energy, you will feel able to cope with a lot of things. You will learn new skills and you will seize these opportunities or fix the threats. And then the last reason to stop and to slow down is that your creative brain only works when your rational brain stops. That's what research shows. That's why you have your best ideas in the shower, when you're playing, when you're cooking, when you're waking up in the morning, because that's when your rational brain isn't functioning. And in today's world that has become so complex and uncertain, you better be creative. and one creative idea can compensate for hours and hours of work. So be sure to check podcast number 3 about the biggest mistake traditional or busy leaders make, because this is it. Traditional and busy leaders, they don't take the time to stop, to slow down, to think, to manage their mindset. They are working all the time. And so if you want to be a successful leader in this rapid, uncertain, and complex world, you have to learn to stop and to take the time to transform yourself instead of working operationally all the time. But why is it so hard to pause? Well, it's so hard to pause because it's probably deeply ingrained in you that you can only pause once the work is finished. Because in school, that's what you were taught to do. You have to do your homework, you have to do all your tasks, and only when you finish these tasks, then you can pause and do something relaxing. But the problem is that with all the requests that we have and the 24/7 connected world we live in, work is never finished. And so pausing means going against who you learn to be. You learn to be in control. You learn to pause only when the work is finished. And so if you pause while the work is not finished, well, you won't be in control and you will feel very uncomfortable. But then also, when you slow down and pause, what is also happening is that you start to feel. You start to feel what is happening inside of you. You start to feel the guilt because you should answer all these requests. You start to feel the uneasiness because that's not who you were raised to be. You start to feel the tiredness because you cannot keep at this pace for a long time. You know, stress is a great emotion when your life is in danger to prepare you to save your life. It's a great emotion. But the problem is that your body is not built to sustain long periods of stress. And the other problem is that your DNA hasn't changed much in the last 10,000 years, while our world has completely changed. And so your brain doesn't make the difference between a life-threatening situation or missing a deadline. You will probably have the same stressed response. And you are not built to live that stress and to be in a stressful situation on a long term. And so when you pause, you will feel the tiredness, you will feel the tensions, you will feel uneasy and guilt. And that's why it is so much easier to simply continue working harder than to slow down and pause. But remember that the most successful people on this planet, they pause a lot. And that is what will set you apart from average leaders. That's what will make you successful, but that's also what will help you get your health back, because you don't want to end up burning out or with even worse diseases, because unfortunately, when you are stressed, your immune system doesn't work properly, and so you cannot fight the diseases as well than when you are relaxed. And so why is it so hard to pause? Because it's deeply ingrained in you to only pause once the work is finished, which it's never anymore. Because being in control is also deeply ingrained in you. And because when you slow down and pause, you start to feel. And you start to feel things that you don't want to feel. And so you want to escape that by continuing working harder. And so how can you pause? And I'm going to give you 5 tips that will help you finally pause and get the results you truly deserve. The first thing I want you to do when you pause is remember. remember why you are pausing. You are not pausing because you're lazy. You are pausing because you need to manage your energy, your mindset, to be creative, to analyze things, to learn new skills. That's why you are pausing. And of course, to manage your energy as well. That's a good reason to pause. You don't have to pause to do something that will cost you even more energy. Sometimes you need to pause because you need to increase that energy level. So first, remember why you pause. Secondly, give yourself permission to pause, because often the people that is the hardest on you will be yourself. So be nice with yourself and give yourself that permission to pause. Thirdly, plan your pauses, because the more pauses you plan, the less unplanned pauses you will need. So plan your pauses and see them as very important meetings with yourself that you cannot cancel. You can postpone, but you cannot cancel. But if you postpone it constantly or if you cancel it constantly, you will not pause and you will need these unplanned pauses that will not come at a great moment. So fourthly, accept what you are feeling. So often we cannot pause because we don't like the sensations that we have in our body, the guilt, the tension, the restlessness, and we want to escape that by working harder. So learn to simply notice these sensations and to accept them. You will see that by accepting them, accepting means simply noticing that they are there. You might not agree with these sensations, but it's okay. It's okay to have that. And just by simply noticing these and saying to yourself, it's okay that I feel guilt. It's okay that I feel this tension. It's okay that I feel this tiredness. That will make it easier for you to stop. And then the last tip I want to give you is practice pausing, because probably today your habit is to work hard, and a habit is a connection in your brain. So today that connection in your brain is very deep, and you need to build that new connection, the pausing connection, the slowing down connection. And so the first time you will do that, that connection will not be present yet in your brain. You have to physically create that new neural pathway in your brain so that it becomes a habit. And the only way to do that is by practicing a lot, by pausing despite feeling uneasy about it, by practicing and practicing and practicing. And research has shown that you need on average 66 days. By practicing for 66 days to pause regularly, it will become a habit and you won't feel as bad about it anymore. So the 5 tips are: remember why you pause, give yourself permission, plan your pauses, accept what you feel, and practice pausing to make a habit out of it. Okay, so I'm really curious. How good are you at pausing? And did I manage to convince you how important it is in this fast changing, uncertain and complex world to slow down and to pause? Okay, we are at the end of this podcast. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe, to leave me a review. It really helps me, because that way my podcast will be viewed by even more leaders, and that's how we can change the world and have another way of leading. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Yeah, you finished another episode of Rebel Leader with a Heart. If you want more, go to rebelleaderwithaheart.com for show notes and past episodes. If you love the show, subscribe, leave a review and share it with a friend. The more the merrier. Thanks for tuning in and have a great week, you Rebel Leader with a Heart.